Well, Professor Umut Korkut, who's a Professor of International Politics at Glasgow Caledonian University, joins me now. You've studied a lot of the sort of wave of populism in countries like Hungary and Turkey. Are you surprised by what's happening in the Netherlands?
Not quite. I think this is a symptom of disruptive politics that's been taking hold across world politics, all the way from Europe to Argentina and recently. And obviously, right after the win of Geert Wilders, Viktor Orban called him to celebrate, to congratulate his victory. However, I'm not finding it too much of a surprise.
Can this kind of populism spread like a wave across a continent, in that people watching the news see this happening in one country and then decide on the basis of that to support populist parties in their own country? Or is each country actually different in terms of the causes?
I don't think so. I mean, there are always different reasons as to why people would vote for the populist politicians. If you want to talk about Argentina, the issue is the fact that it's been, in very deep economic crisis for a very long time, and people, they may be voting for, Milei, but they may not really be endorsing all the policy proposals that he's putting out there. They maybe actually want to change the system, but they may not necessarily believe in rather absurd policy suggestions. In the case of Hungary, the issue had been very much tied in with nationalism and the way Viktor Orban has used actually the migration card and then the crisis card after the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And in the case of Netherlands, though, it seems like he's able to put out a policy spectrum covering all the way from housing crisis, migration, cost of living crisis, as well as disgruntlement that the farmers have.
But aren't there a lot of similarities, like immigration and the economy, and this idea of the elite being corrupt?
There are, however, you cannot really compare, immigration in Hungary and immigration in Netherlands, right? I mean, in Hungary, this is just a created issue, created problem, let's say. And in the case of Netherlands, immigration is nothing new. I mean, it's been a country that has received migrants since the 1950s, onwards. And I think there's a pure exploitation of the immigration problem now by the right wing, or extreme right, if you want to say. However, I don't also agree that it's the liberal elite. Actually, there are many people who vote for liberal parties, and I think it's a bit of a reductionism to say that liberals are just the elites.
What do you mean by what's happening in Ireland tonight with all the rioting? Is that driven by right-wing populism?
It is difficult to understand because Ireland had always been an outlier, in fact, in terms of its politics in comparison to the rest of Europe, or let's say less of the democratic world. We need to understand this a bit better, I would say. And it could be really a lunatic, as the police has been saying, or it could be really far-right activism. But far-right activism in Ireland would be a new type of populism to study.
When people decide to vote for populist parties, is it about specific policies, or is it often just the idea of being a disrupting kind of influence, that people just don't like the existing order and they just want to see change?
True. I mean, people, they may want to see change, but I mean, they may in that case vote for other political parties as well, because it's not only the populists, right, who are asking for change. There are many left-wing parties in Europe or in the world that are asking for change. And in fact, some of them are also gaining traction. So you cannot underestimate the success of left in some countries. However, when it comes to the populist win or victory, if you want to talk about the Netherlands, I suppose they've been able to bring a huge big platform of various policy issues that do not necessarily relate to each other, so that they can really capture attention of, let's say, certain parts of society, but not necessarily bothering with capturing the whole attention of the whole society.
We've seen in other European countries populist parties growing in popularity. Do you see other countries electing populist governments?
I don't know. Once again, we have to see the elections, and I think we're coming to the end of 2023. In fact, this has been a year of elections. I mean, I studied the Turkish elections at the beginning of the year, and then there has been a few other elections that has happened. Obviously, we're going to see really crucial elections next year, so it's better to watch actually what's going to come later.
Okay, Professor Umut Korkut, thank you much indeed for joining us.